what I'm introducing here is nothing highly original. Um, but what I wanted to show you guys is that if you have an analytical mind and you really break things down, you can ultimately discover something pretty interesting um, that you didn't know before. And that's not an original idea of mine. So I'm going to do, over the course of videos, the Mentos and soda, uh, not even experiment, but demonstration. And this has been done for well over a decade now, and it's nothing new. The phenomena was noticed that if you drop a Mentos candy in soda, that it fizzes up rapidly and it shoots out really high out of the 2 liter bottle of soda. And it turns out that this isn't a chemical reaction, it's a physical reaction that the Mentos facilitates the carbon dioxide coming out of solution being dissolved. It's a gas being dissolved in the soda and into the gas phase. And when it does it very rapidly, it shoots out. And it turns out diet soda is the best at doing this, Diet Coke in particular, in that there's something about the NutraSweet and the artificial sweeteners that reduce the surface tension um, of the soda. And surface tension is a physical property of any liquid. It's essentially how well the molecules of the liquid interact with each other, how tightly, how strongly they interact. It's why when you go off a diving board and you belly flop into a pool of water, it stings. You're literally breaking through all of those water molecules that are trying to stick together. And the splash, when you hit the water, they splash, they move out of the way, and you're having to break through that surface tension. Um, because of the surface tension and because that surface tension is high, when you belly flop, you don't go all the way to the bottom of the pool. If you belly flopped into a tub of oil, it might actually hurt less. The surface tension is lower, but you might actually sink further, and that could ultimately be a worse thing. Um, and there's been lots of permutations of this Mentos and soda um, experiment. So my twist on it is this. So I'm going to recreate the first part about dropping the Mentos in a couple of different brands of soda. And then what I'm going to do is my version of this is that I would like to get the highest fountain or geyser coming out of my 2 liter bottle of soda for the least amount of money spent. Um, so, people, you can get a huge geyser coming out if you drop in as many Mentos as you can. But if you break it down, you ought to be able to control the variables enough that you can get the highest geyser out of a 2 liter bottle of soda for the least amount of candy dropped in. Um, so if the Mentos is serving as a surface for the carbon dioxide to reform, there should be some things that you can be able to do to make the carbon dioxide form more quickly. So one of the things is the number of Mentos you drop in. It's been postulated that the rough surface on the Mentos candy, even though it feels smooth, might have something to do with it. So things that you might be able to do to help more carbon dioxide form more quickly is you can smash the Mentos. You could actually cut it into pieces, thus exposing more surface area. It'd be interesting to see what the inside of the candy does. If the surface is rough, excoriate the tablet. So literally take like a knife or sandpaper and rub on it and see if that makes a difference. Warmer sodas, it's harder for soda or carbon dioxide to stay in solution, and we know that. Um, so you ought to be able to do something to manipulate the Mentos itself. And then once you find the brand of soda, um, what you can do to manipulate the Mentos, and then warming the soda works, you ought to be able to get as high a fountain as possible for the least amount of money spent. Because, I mean, Mentos candy isn't expensive, but it's not cheap, cheap. So you'd like to be able to buy a 2 liter bottle of soda, and maybe you can get just as high a fountain off of one or two candies as you could is if you dumped 7 or 8 of these in there. So that's what we're going to try to do. we're going to try to get a huge geyser. It's just a big of geyser coming out of a 2-liter bottle of soda, um, but with the least amount of Mentos possible dropped in there. So that's my twist on this. And we're going to do everything we can to control as many of the variables as possible to see if we can get to the bottom. All right? So enjoy, and let's get to work. So, first experiment, it's RC Cola because it's my favorite, and you just have to deal with it. Go ahead. From the top. Get out of. That was pathetic, wasn't it? Next one will be better. Coca-Cola. I hate to say it, but my favorite soda was a little disappointing in comparison to that. Diet Right Zero. 2 Mentos. This off-brand stuff ain't cutting it. That's okay, you're good. Just be careful. Coke Zero. So online, Coke Zero and Diet Coke are supposed to be about equal. Diet Coke caffeine free is supposed to be the best. And when we do side by side for the next round, we're doing Diet Coke caffeine free. So, assistant? Ah, well, part of the reason it was leaking. I kind of like that one. Diet Coke. That's significantly better. I don't know if it was clear through on the camera, but you'll see it. That's significantly higher. So we're getting set up here. So what we're going to do, each bottle is going to get 2 Mentos. We're doing Coke Zero versus caffeine-free Diet Coke. First round is going to be 2 just regular Mentos. Second round, we're going to do the stuff that we've experimented with. I've done stuff where I've cut Mentos in half. I've smashed the Mentos and I've excoriated, scratched the surface. We're going to see what wins. You got 2 full Mentos? I'll hold those for you. That's not very well. Get it on there flat. There you go. It's okay. I got a good helper. All right. Caffeine-free Diet Coke. Okay, now we've got some variables that we finally started doing. So this, I'm trying to see where we are, is Coke Zero, and we've cut the Mentos in half. This should increase surface area. Go for it. That did something. That did something. Diet Coke, Mentos cut in half. And we leaked and it still did well. Think we're on to something. So these are scored, meaning I took a knife and I spent a bunch of time scratching the underside surface, um, around the edges, trying to see if I could cut into the hard shell candy. Let's see if it makes a difference. So before we did this, I thought scoring it was going to be the way to go. Caffeine-free Diet Coke, 2 scored Mentos. The cut one was still better. Caffeine-free Diet Coke seems to be the way to go. Cut was still better. So the scored was nice. It was an improvement over the regular, I think. We'll have to look at tape. Look at that. It's got legs. Coke Zero, 2 smashed Mentos. They had a little bit of leak there, but I think the cut is the way to go. We'll see. Diet Coke, caffeine free, smash Mentos. Redoing this one, Diet Coke, caffeine free, 2 cut Mentos. We're going to go back inside, take a look at the film. Seems like cut is the way to go. The only question is, how many Mentos do you need? So we're going to go with all cut up Mentos. So what I've done is we're at Diet Coke caffeine free, and I've cut up 5 Mentos. That's as many as will fit in my little funnel. And we're going to start with maximum, and then we're going to cut our way back to see what it's going to take uh, in order to equal the same height. So Allison here is going to pull the trigger, and we'll see what we get. Well, that was unexpected. Well, that was fun, now wasn't it? So we're going to try 3 Mentos cut up, so 6 halves, Diet Coke, caffeine free. That was nice. We'll be back. So, same soda, Diet Coke caffeine free, 4 Mentos cut in half, so 8 halves. That was higher. We're going to have to do 5. We're going to try where we failed again. 5 Mentos, cut up, Diet Coke, caffeine free. That looked a little better still. We got one more bottle of soda. We're going to see what we can pack in there. I'm not going to buy any more soda, guys. So this is going to be it. I can't fit any more than 6 cut up Mentos into my little geyser well, so my daughter's going to do the honors. Let's hope this works. Oh, you didn't get them all in this time. You can still see them in there. What happened? They got gummed up. Oh, poo. Hey. It appears 5's the limit for a reason, guys. And on that note, we end. We finished our experiment, so here's what we know. We confirmed what everybody else has done in that it seems like diet caffeine-free Coke gives you the highest geyser, and that was nothing new. Um, Seems like the artificial sweetener plus just that combination of no caffeine seems like it has reduced surface tension. And we confirmed that, and a lot of people have done diet Coke, but not diet caffeine-free Coke compared to Coke Zero, and those will come out to be about equal. But the diet caffeine-free Coke is pretty impressive. So then we control the variable of what you can do to the tablet, the Mentos tablet, and that's just leave it alone, cut it in half, smash it, and then try to scratch it up. And it certainly seemed like when we just compared what you can do to manipulate the tablet, that cutting the tablet in half gives you a higher geyser. Certainly, the one thing we couldn't control for was cutting it up even more, and I'll get into that in a second. So then we went to and said, okay, can we get to the point where we hit diminishing returns and geyser height? Now, we weren't able to do it quantitatively. We had to do it qualitatively. And some of the top of the geyser got cut off in the video. I wanted to catch the bottom as well as much of the top. And that was kind of hard to do and get a good enough camera angle. But what you could see, and then what my daughter and I were able to see in person, we initially, when we did the head-to-head comparisons, you know, 2 cut up Mentos were pretty impressive compared to 2 Mentos that hadn't been processed at all. Um, when you got 3, you went higher still. When you got 4, you went even higher. When you got to 5 cut up Mentos and that it had just been halved, it got even higher. When we got to 6, that's when we ran into equipment trouble. Um, if you could manufacture your own top, uh, your own device, if you could make it about a millimeter to a millimeter and a half wider in diameter, um, it wouldn't gum up. When you start having all of these halved pieces, they start shifting around in the chamber, and then they can get stuck. And if they get stuck, they might not be able to drop into your 2-liter bottle of soda in time. And that's what happened to us. It actually happened when we cut up 5 and we got around it one time. So you hit a point of diminishing returns where after a while, even though you could get more surface area and more Mentos exposed with which to essentially catalyze that reaction more quickly, you might not be able to get it out of the chamber in time. So what we ran into were not so much a scientific limitation, but a technical limitation. If you could get a better, or I wouldn't say better, but if you had a slightly wider geyser chamber, you might be able to get more in there. But we did not hit diminishing returns. So you could certainly go higher still. Your limitations are technical, not scientific at this point. We did not investigate warming up the 2-liter bottles of soda, but that's been done. A warmer 2-liter bottle of soda, because at that point it's harder to keep the CO2 in solution, would give you more bang for your buck. So we could only get 5 cut up Mentos tablets into the chamber, and we were still going higher. So if anybody out there can get me a bigger chamber, I'll try again and to see if we can ever hit a point where we have diminishing returns. The other thing we couldn't investigate was to see if we could quarter the tablets and expose more surface area, because the little prongs that went into the chamber, if you would have cut up the tablet any smaller, they would have just dropped straight through. So one could theorize that if you could cut up the tablet even more, the reaction would go, or the facilitation of more CO2 going out of solution and bubbling up would go even more quickly and more forceful, and maybe that would be something you could investigate. But you would have to have an apparatus or a device that could keep smaller pieces from dropping through. So that would be something to look into as well. So diet caffeine-free Coke, warmer soda, cut up the tablets. We're getting more economical. I've contributed my little piece. Hopefully somebody else can get a new geyser well and kick this a little bit further and have a little bit more fun with this. I hope you guys have learned that even things that are just fun and that are just silly, you can figure out and figure out how to get more bang for your buck. So that's been my little part to this world. We'll see you later. Catch you on the flip side.